So it's November 9th, Tuesday, and today I'm going to unpack the first shipment of the flight school. And I start with the tie that was part of the first package, the tie, because the flight school, the flight training here expects you to wear a uniform, which should prepare you for your airline job. So the tie, and I will have to ultimately wear it. It is actually a little bit the fake tie because you can just kind of like clip it in. so so during my earlier times as a flight attendant, I always had to kind of like at 4 o'clock in the morning prepare my tie. So sometimes it got a bit short, sometimes it got a bit long. Anyway, then very important. Another thing that I will need once I'm starting to fly is actually kind of like the Bose noise cancelling headset that I will need. So I probably kind of like will unpack that in more detail at the later stage. Yeah, and then we have, oh nice, a pen. We have a pen here, Skyborn, the flight training, flight academy. Then I'm having the E6B. For those who don't know what the E6B is, I'm going to just briefly show you what the E6B is. It sounds very fancy. It is also very fancy. It is actually kind of a manual calculator. Okay, so if for those that don't know kind of like what this is, I highly recommend watch Apollo 13. Apollo 13, where you can see kind of like all the engineers in mission control recalculating the flight trajectory and so forth. This was how NASA landed on the moon. So you can do all sorts of like different calculations. It's really helpful, and we actually did today really learn how to use it. How, for example, based on the like fuel flow, how you can calculate how much fuel remaining is at the destination or how much fuel you need. You can do conversions, nautical miles, statute miles, and so forth. You can do all sorts of things. You can calculate minutes and with flight duration, with distance, and so forth. So it's really kind of like important to have. However, even in small airplanes today, you don't like use this one anymore. You have like a digital flight computer. However, it's still kind of like important that you learn how to deal with all these different conversions. And then, for example, here below, we have actually kind of like a chart where you can see headwind and crosswind components, wind corrections, and so forth. So yeah, really helpful and really part of like your initial training that you need to figure out in order to be able to, if, for example, the flight computer doesn't work anymore, you need to know. And it's also like a plausibility check. And so whatever figure you get out of the computer, you want to understand, is this a figure that we can work with, or is this a figure kind of like that can't really be serious? So that's something kind of like that that I think is really important to know. So that's the E6B. Then an IFR 3-fold knee board. Very nice. So let's have a look at this. So this is actually required when you are actually going to fly. You can put down all your important information. You can write down. So the knee board helpful. So you can it has some like a loop. You can put it kind of like under the under your knee, and you can sort this out like that, or fix it like that. So then a flight logbook. Okay, flight logbook. What do you do in the flight logbook? You actually write down all your flight hours. So when you go flying, you want to write down kind of like, for example, the make and model, the airplane, the ID number from to, how many landings, what the aircraft category and class was. If you were piloting command, you want to add maybe some remarks. And that is all important because that's really kind of like where you, like that's the logbook of a pilot. That will determine how much experience you have, and ultimately how much you are able to operate specific types of aircraft, and under which rules and under which regulations, and if you can take passengers on it or not. So then two sectional charts, one from Jacksonville, which is like the northern part of Florida, and the southern part of Florida, which goes reaches down to the Keys. So will be quite important with all the information, the legend that will explain exactly what you will find. Again, I will go into more details once I'm actually starting to fly about these charts. Actually, as a small boy, I always found it very fascinating to take the aviation map similar to this sectional chart, and to just kind of like explore where all the airports are in Switzerland, and how you have to navigate from different navigation point to the other navigation point. Even as a small boy, that would be kind of like my. I didn't read any books. I just looked at the maps and imagined myself kind of like flying through Switzerland. Anyway, hopefully one day, pretty soon, I'm able to do that. Then a PJ1, PJ not to confuse with the PJs that you take to bed. PJ1 rotating azimuth plotter. Again, something that you need ultimately to draw kind of like when you navigate, and you map out your journey, your flight journey, flight plan, etc. That's what you need ultimately to be on top of the game regarding where you're actually flying to. And then some important devices for the actual flight operation. So for example, kind of like this will be very important for my instrument proficiency or instrument license. It will cover the upper part, which is kind of like what you ultimately can see out, can look out the aircraft. It will cover that with a milky part, so you can't really like see what's happening outside. You really need to focus on what's going on in front of you in terms of like the instrument. It will help you to train to read the instruments properly and not just to look out, because sometimes, yeah, it can happen that you quickly fly into clouds or into IMC instrument conditions, and at that moment you want to really kind of like be ready to trust your instruments. Then, very important, also back in the day I was a flight attendant, very important to wear the yellow warning vest when you walk out on the tarmac, so everybody can see you, and you're not being run over by anyone. And then interesting kind of like glass device, or like a device, also very important once I'm starting to fly. This is what you put under the wing, under the tank, and you will drain a little bit of the tank at the lowest point in order to determine if you had any water in it. So it can happen that in the tank, water condensates, and ultimately water then will fall down because the fuel is lighter. It will fall down to the very bottom of the tank. You want to drain that because once water gets into the engine, you might face an engine failure, and that's what you want to avoid. So you're going to drain the tank. You want to check kind of like if there's any sort of like sediments in the fuel. So it's really all about like a pre-flight check for which you need this device to drain on both tanks a first bit of fuel. And then last but not least, epaulets. I don't know kind of like what's the exact name of it, but anyway, one stripe. So one stripe you put kind of like on your pilot shirt as a flight student. I actually used to have already kind of like one stripe when I was like a purser, when I was promoted to a purser at the airline as a flight attendant, senior flight attendant. You would receive one stripe. So I have my one stripe back. I'm now a flight attendant, becoming a pilot, a senior flight attendant becoming a pilot. So I have again kind of like these epaulets, and those will accompany me through my training here, and so forth. So that was the first part of the shipment, or kind of like the package that I received from the flight school. yeah, hope that makes sense. If you have questions about something specifically, let me know. But anyway, we'll keep you posted. And there's more happening this week, so I'm very excited about that. Apart from flight training, but definitely keep you in the loop of what's happening. All right, so wish you a very pleasant evening. Bye bye.